Operation Finale, the final trailer. That is this week's headline on Movie Burner News. And joining me as always is John. And John, we've just went back and watched this trailer again for hopefully the final time. What's your thoughts on this? This is obviously, there was a trailer 2 months ago, the original trailer, and this one had a little bit more dialogue, especially with Oscar Isaac and Ben Kingsley interspersed throughout this trailer, John. I've got to say, I can't wait for this film to come out. It comes out on the 14th of September here in the UK.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed the trailer, Stephen, I have to say. I'd seen I can't remember how far back it was, but I remember reading that Ben Kingsley had been cast to play Adolf Eichmann. It took me by surprise, obviously, because the Nazis, the atrocity they committed in the Holocaust. So that really did surprise me that he had the balls to play this character. And I says to you before we come on, it just speaks volumes about the man's dedication to his art, to his craft. He's such an incredibly talented actor, one of the greatest actors of his generation, maybe of all time. Just iconic, some of the roles he's performed. He's also an Academy Award winner. So to see him stepping into this role, that intrigued me for this film. And then to see the trailer, also a month back, or a month and a half back, and then to see this final trailer, that's just completed the circle for me in terms of anticipation. The trailer has almost got that Dunkirk vibe with the score. It's like a ticking clock, and it gets quicker and quicker, and it just seems to build to a crescendo with the tension getting ever higher as well as the trailer gets through. That was the case in the two trailers, but certainly in this one, some amazing moments visually. Obviously, Eichmann is a younger person. Kingsley does look a little bit melted in the trailer. He looks a bit older than they should be, but this is a man in his 70s, so that's to be expected. They've done the best. Looking resplendent in his uniform and his coat. You can see what you want about the Nazis' evil gets, but they were very well dressed. Hugo Boss done their clothes. And he looks amazing, but he's committing an atrocity. He's killing, or ordering the killing of women, children, innocent Jewish people standing in it. Looks like a pit. So that was one of the standout moments for me, seeing the vulgarity of the man, how he can just wave a hand and obviously silence hundreds upon hundreds of lives. And then we see it dashing back and forth between the war and the later setting it takes place in, with Oscar Isaac's character hunting down the Holocaust architect 15 years after the war. I believe it's set in the 60s, the early 60s. So I can't wait to see this film. There's so many great moments of dialogue. The one where Eichmann, also played by Kingsley, says we're all animals, just some of us have bigger teeth. That was a witty line, loved that. The amazing moment in the final trailer between Oscar Isaac and Ben Kingsley where they're screaming at each other. Looks emotional, it looks full of passion. It's an incredible story, it needs to be told. I've seen people slaughtering this film being made. Why are we making another film about the Nazis and the Holocaust? Well, it's quite simple. You have to keep retelling this story to newer generations or it'll be forgotten about, and then you'll have similar horrors and atrocities getting recommitted. If you don't learn from mistakes and read about history, you're doomed to repeat it. So I have no issues with it being remade. Certainly when you look at some of the other takes in this story, there's been a TV series where I believe Martin Freeman played Eichmann, and there was another film or so, maybe another couple of films, and they were apparently quite poor. They weren't to the standard. So hopefully this is the benchmark for telling this particular story, and I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, Chris White's is directing this movie, John. I know him more as a writer than a director, but I know that it's interesting to know that he started off way back. One of his first directorial jobs was actually the American Pie film.
Oh, is it? Yeah.
Such a far cry from this film, and it kind of carried that on. About a boy in 2002, which was a great film, and then the Golden Compass from 2007, and then he was starting to get into more sort of fantasy stuff with the Twilight saga as well. But I'm surprised that he is a director in this movie. I was expecting someone more of the sort of Chris Nolan. When I saw this trailer, it did have a kind of Nolan feel to it. I knew it wasn't Chris Nolan that was doing this, because we would have heard more about this film if it was someone of his stature. But as you said, that eeriness of the soundtrack in that trailer pulled me in right away. And it is, you're right, it is very similar to Dunkirk and the way it was building up to that moment. As you said, Ben Kingsley as well, he's a legendary actor, and once again he's taken on a role that's going to push the boundaries, especially with his background. Looking at the cast as well, Oscar Isaac, we know him obviously as Poe Dameron in Star Wars, but thoroughly impressed with him in Ex Machina. as well. Melanie Laurent, I think that's how you pronounce the lady's name. First film I saw her in was Inglourious Basterds back in 2008, I think it was. I don't know if it was as far back as that, 2008, 2010, I can't remember. She's a terrific actress. She was fantastic in that, playing opposite Christoph Waltz in some of the most intense scenes I've seen in any Tarantino films. And 50% of the tension in that movie she created. A fine actress. And then you've got the likes of Greta Scarci in there, legendary Italian actress as well. I don't know too many of the other actors in this movie, but one thing is, this is a biography, drama, history type film. I'm certainly on board because that's my type of film anyway. It's based on true events, and I just can't wait to see it. We've got another month before it comes out here in the UK, but I'm certainly looking forward to this. I didn't know too much about this. The original trailer, as we said, came out 2 months ago. I didn't know anything about the original trailer. But having seen that final trailer, I'm on board now. Yeah,
completely agree, Stephen. It's not got an incredibly star-studded cast, but the main players in the cast are absolutely phenomenal actors. I thoroughly enjoyed Oscar Isaac in the X-Men film when he played the antagonist. He's one of the better things in that film. He was great in Ex Machina, as you did say. One of the better things in the sequel trilogy in Star Wars as well. Quite an underrated actor. He was also in... He was in a film with Ryan Gosling, I think it may have been Drive, where he played a convict coming home. Quite understated in that. He's a good actor, and I'm glad to see he's getting more roles outside of Star Wars. It's certainly not something he had a problem with. Starring alongside Ben Kingsley, that was one of the biggest takeaways from the trailer. The dynamism and the relationship between those two primary characters. Obviously, Peter Malkin's hunting down Adolf Eichmann in the film, and seeing the relationship between them. Eichmann's kind of taunting him and saying, "Who did we take from you?" And you've got the back and forth, he's ready for strangling them, and you've got that interesting dynamic between the two. Also, we know he doesn't strangle him because he does go on to get trialled and executed, but it's a story that needs to be told. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm a big fan of World War II history and just all the factors that came about in making this terrible conflict in humanity happen. It's also terrible, but people have got a fascination with the story, including me, because we've not seen anything like it since. And just seeing how these guys got their comeuppance, it's great to see it put to film in a film of this stature. I did see that it's been moved up slightly in the United States to Labour Day, which is 29th of August. That takes it out of the crowded fall period, which is obviously full of all the films that are really going for award nominations. So that's another positive. Apparently older audiences tend to go out on that day as well. So that will maybe give it a little boost in the box office that it probably deserves. I don't know if it does deserve it. I've not seen the film. I've not seen any reviews. I'm just taking it from the trailer alone, and it does look good from the trailer, so I can't wait.
Yeah, and that's all we can do, John. Yeah. It's basically an audio trailer reaction from us guys here at Movie Burner Entertainment. But we're going to move on now, John. As I said, we didn't have too much to say on that other than what we saw in the trailers. To this piece of news, it's actually over a widespread of websites at the moment, that Marvel are re-releasing all 20 MCU movies in IMAX cinemas. This is in the US and Canada. I pray to God that we are going to get it here in the UK as well, because I certainly would go along and see all 20 of these movies in IMAX. I've not seen any of them. The other interesting thing is that I think there was 2 or 3 of them are going to be released for the first time in IMAX format. That's Iron Man, The Incredible Hulk, and Captain America, the first Avenger. So basically the first 3 MCU films are going to get the IMAX treatment. My feelings on this, I think this is a great way to celebrate 10 years of Marvel Studios. I know that Kevin Feige has been saying a few things on social media and in the press, and they wanted to make a big event of this. They certainly have done this. I think this is tremendous. Marvel seem to know how to celebrate their films. They appreciate the fans' participation and coming out in their numbers to see these films over the last 10 years, and enthusiasm as well, and that is the most important thing. After a decade of these films, the enthusiasm hasn't dissipated. And just before I let you in, John, it's not for a long time. It's only, I think, for a week or so. I think it's maybe 7 to 10 days, which is not a lot of time, but I do hope that us guys over here in the UK get something similar to celebrate this landmark event.
Yeah, it's fantastic news for me, Stephen, if it does come over here. If it doesn't, then I'm depressed. But as you say, yeah, it's probably only going to be a week-long thing. I think they say in the article I'm reading that it gives fans the opportunity to watch the films back to back. I never did get to see any of the films in the full IMAX experience either. Even the most recent one, I never went to see it in the big screen, which is a shame because it's the best way to really consume a film that's made for it, the big massive screen. Something magical about it, even the sound's better. Last film I actually went to see in IMAX was a long time ago. It was The Dark Knight Rises, so that'll tell you the length of time it's been since I went to our local IMAX. And you know the reason for that, Stephen, because of the stupid way in which they arrange seating in this place, where it's not pre-purchased seats where you can pick where you want to sit. You have to come very early for a film. It's first come, first served. And of course we weren't aware of this before we went to the IMAX, and we were sitting about 3 rows from the front of the screen, and my head was cranked up at a 90-degree angle. I'd felt like I'd been involved in a car accident and had concussion, but thankfully I didn't. I just had a sore neck for about a day after it watching it, so that's why I've not been back. But I would go back and watch these films if it was to come over here. It's a celebration of 10 years of success, of hard work, of all these fantastic characters that have been brought onto the screen. We touched upon this, I think it was actually you, Stephen, last week. I don't know where we touched upon it. I think it was a topic about comic books, but it must be incredible for the original geeks of the 60s and the 70s to see all of these characters being fleshed out on the screen after probably been given crap for reading comic books all through their childhood and their teenage years. To have people of all creed, colour, religion, walks of life really celebrating comic books now. It must be an incredible feeling to have been fans of this for 30, 40 years and seeing this all coming their way now. It must be magical, and to have the chance to celebrate it with all like-minded people throughout a week-long festival, because this is what it is really. It's a Marvel festival. That is just an extra bonus for all these fans of the MCU. I just pray to God it comes over here, because I would definitely go and watch Iron Man for one, because that never got the IMAX treatment, as you did say. That's still one of my favourite MCU films, very low key compared to what we get these days. So it was a much more intimate experience compared to Thanos doing finger clicks and wiping out half the universe, what we've got these days. But yeah, I mean, as you did say, Stephen, they know how to reward fans of the series. They just appreciate all the fans' input and the love that they have for these characters and for the worlds that have been fleshed out. And I think it's fantastic that Kevin Feige, and maybe, I don't even know if Bob Iger's been involved, but it's fantastic for Disney to really do this. It can't be cheap having these films being re-released in IMAX for a week. It must be very expensive, but they can afford it, and it's great for fans of a series. Especially those 3 films that have never had the treatment, John. I think that will be costly. You're talking about films that are now 10-year-old. The Incredible Hulk as well. Sorry, John, what were you going to say? That's great. I was just about to add what you said, Stephen. It's great that they're putting the Incredible Hulk in there, because it's kind of the forgotten child now, isn't it? Yeah, it's kind of, it's the black sheep of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, unfortunately. Certainly not in my book. I'm a big fan of Edward Norton. It's a shame the way things turned out, but we got Mark Ruffalo. And, when you think about who Bruce Banner is now, it is Mark Ruffalo. But going back to that movie and its initial release, I remember just that last, I think it might have been post-credit, when Robert Downey Jr. came in at the very last minute of the Incredible Hulk film. I was kind of confused because I didn't realise what they were building here. And you've got to credit Marvel as well in the way they've done this. They've started off with the core characters, if you like, in Iron Man, Captain America, Thor and the Incredible Hulk, and just built out from that the side characters, the likes of Hawkeye, Black Widow, Falcon and War Machine, and the list goes on. And then you get the secondary characters, which are not really secondary characters, but in terms of the way they were released, the likes of the Ant-Mans and the Doctor Strange movies and that, which are my favourites. It just keeps building and building and building. As you said, John, when you think back to the first Iron Man film and the antagonist, which was basically just a bunch of terrorists, and then you go 10 years into the future, you've got a man clicking his finger and, as you said, wiping out half the universe. It's just been this progression throughout that decade, and I'm looking forward to this next phase in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, where it's going to take us. Will they do a reboot of all the characters again with new actors playing them? I don't know how they'll end this, or whether or not they will end it.
actors can't go on forever. We don't want to see an 80-year-old Tony Stark talking like Stan Lee. Who knows? But it's just an exciting time, as you said, for the original geeks from the 60s and 70s. They've certainly been rewarded with a whole list and a whole host of terrific movies.
Yeah, and it's also an exciting time, Stephen, for fans of the MCU who are maybe late to the party, didn't get a chance to see some of these films in the cinema. I know that was the case with a lot of Star Wars fans back in the day. They didn't get the chance to see Star Wars in the original trilogy in its cinematic form until the 90s when they re-released them for the special edition. So it'll be great for fans who have maybe not popped along to see these films to get a chance to go and see it in the best way you can possibly watch film in an IMAX venue with a massive screen. So very exciting news. I hope to God it's not just a US and Canada only release. I know they can't do it over the whole world, or they'd be losing ridiculous amounts of money, but throws a bone here. Kevin, hey, throws a bone, please. Give us it over here. Hey, make up for the World Cup. You're quite right, Stephen. That abomination delaying Ant-Man and the Wasp. A month what you've done. You've screwed the box office. But we're going to move on to X-Men Dark Phoenix and undergoing reshoots. It's not 3 months, unlike the initial rumours. It's only, I think, 2.5 weeks now, Stephen. So I'm not really bothered by this at all. I mean, I know there's been a lot of concern over what they're going to do with this. Is this going to be the last iteration of these characters in the X-Men verse with the whole Disney-Fox merger? I think it's more than likely going to be. I know a lot of people have said you can't recast them again. That's been twice you've done it, obviously, with Ian McKellen, Patrick Stewart, James McAvoy, Michael Fassbender, but they're going to have to do it because some of the characters have been fleshed out as much as they can in their current iterations and forms. And with Disney coming in, they're going to want to integrate the X-Men characters into the Marvel Cinematic Universe as best they can. And to do that, they're going to have to recast. So I think this is going to be the final film for the likes of James McAvoy, Michael Fassbender, maybe even Jennifer Lawrence. I don't know if she's come back.
Yep.
It's going to be the last time, and I'm not worried about reshoots at all. 2.5 weeks is nothing. Every film, blockbuster film anyway, is going to have a set period after production to go back and make some changes to the tone, to certain scenes, just to maybe sort a couple of little things they're not happy with. So this is nothing. If it was 3 months, it would have been a disaster because it would have meant the film it's needing a sizable change if something went seriously wrong. 2.5 weeks, not so much.
Yeah, by the time this film comes out, John, the X-Men franchise as a Fox property will be 19 years old.
Incredible.
I think that's long enough for the current set of characters and actors. And obviously the older versions, the Patrick Stewarts, etc., Ian McKellen as well. And I think you're right. I think it's going to be a clean break after this with the merger. I think once the X-Men characters are going to intermingle with the current MCU, it will be new cast members playing the likes of Charles Xavier, Raven, etc., Scott Summers, and so on. And I think it's a good thing. I think it separates as well the X-Men franchise as it currently stands and where it's going to be for the next generation coming in. As far as the reshoots go, John, I'm not too fussed myself. Very much like the New Mutants, it's having a lot of, I don't want to say bad publicity, but there is a few negative comments out there. So I'm not too fussed about that. Every movie these days seems to be going through reshoots. If it was another 3 months, it wouldn't have bothered me. I've got to be honest with you. It's still saying that it's expected to be released early February next year anyway. So I don't even think that another 3 months of reshoots would have been the end of the world. And I don't think it would have set the schedule of the release of this movie too far back either. But I'm glad to see it's only a couple of weeks, which means that they're nearly finished. And we're going to see probably the last incarnations of the James McAvoy, Michael Fassbender, Jennifer Lawrence characters who have been with us since 2010's First Class. I think that's long enough. You're talking nearly a decade anyway with these actors playing these characters, so I'm not too bothered. I'm looking forward to the movie. That and, as I said, the New Mutants. I don't know where that movie is going to go. I'm going off on a bit of a tangent here because of this merger, whether or not this will be a standalone film, depending on, I suppose, its box office success or failure. But that film is more tricky because they're only starting out in this, which is more of a branch of this universe. Other than that, I just can't wait to see Dark Phoenix. I like the X-Men films. I like the James McAvoy portrayal of Charles Xavier. I like Michael Fassbender's portrayal of Eric as well, and Jennifer Lawrence. I think everyone just sees her as Raven now. I can't remember the original actress's name that played it in the original X-Men trilogy, but everyone relates the character to her now.
Yeah, nobody remembers her name. I don't. That's because Jennifer Lawrence is synonymous with the role now. Well, they do say in this article from Slash Film that the reason for perhaps the conflicting stories of 3 months and 2.5 weeks is that both could be correct. 3 months could be encompassing the whole production, the pre-production, setting up the sets for the reshoots, setting up all the areas and stuff that's getting filmed. That could be 3 months from start to finish, and then just the actual filming's only 2.5 weeks. What I do find interesting is that they say that the reason for the reshooting is that it's going to be reshooting the ending of a film, and that there's going to be some additional action, a couple of new scenes, and some additional stuff for the existing scenes. So I do think that plays into what we were talking, Stephen. Since it's came out that the Fox-Disney merger is indeed going to happen, I think they're going to go and change the ending just to reflect the new state of play between the two massive companies. Things aren't going to maybe go the way they were originally going to go, and we're going to see this being the end of the characters. It's a shame for the likes of Sophie Turner, who have just come on recently, but that's life, sadly. And I can't wait to see what Marvel do with these characters. Talking about the New Mutants, that's a very tricky one as well. I don't think that would. I don't know how they would do that. I don't know how it would mesh. It's obviously more of a horror theme they're going for. I do believe a darker tone, but maybe we did speculate, Stephen, that the reshoots for that film maybe had something to do with the merger as well. Maybe Disney telling them, listen, do this, do that, and we can maybe keep this as an ongoing thing in the future. I don't know, it's all speculation, but that's a totally different film. This one I definitely think is an end of an era, and as you said, 19 years. It's time for it to really come to an end. We'll see new iterations of a character. With the death of Logan, it's time anyway. We want to see a new Wolverine. I don't know who the hell's going to play the role. Hugh Jackman's so synonymous with that role as well that it'd be very difficult to see another actor performing as that character, but it's going to happen. That's life, and I just can't wait to see this film, perhaps the end, if indeed it is the end of these characters in their current forms, and which way they're going to go in the future, and how it's all going to blend into the MCU, because one thing's for sure, it's going to be damn good.
Yeah, John, and just moving on to our final piece of news this week. This is a movie I don't think you were familiar with or had any incline that was getting made. This film is called Mary, Queen of Scots, and this comes from IndieWire.com in regards to Margot Robbie and Saoirse Ronan. Margot Robbie is playing Elizabeth I, and Saoirse Ronan is playing Mary, Queen of Scots. And what this article is basically just saying is that both actors kept themselves apart for most of the production of this film because basically I think it's like a form of method acting to sort of build tensions between both these figures. And apparently when they did finally meet up, there was a lot of tears involved. I can imagine it was quite an emotionally draining movie to make in the first place, but I think once these actors, Robbie and Ronan, did meet for their scenes together, it was a very emotional experience. But we did watch the trailer, John, and what was your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed the trailer, Stephen. It's a story I've slightly acquainted with. I do remember reading about the tragic story of Mary, Queen of Scots. She was also a young figure who was whisked over to France. I believe she married the King of France at that point. She was alienated from Scotland. She came back. There was a lot of treachery with the male figures in Scotland trying to overthrow her and really getting away at every possible turn. There was a rivalry between her and Queen Elizabeth I, who was on the throne down in England, but it was seen as an inferior to Mary. She had a lot of handmaidens at that time as well who had stuck with her through thick and thin from her journey over to the continent and back. They were like sisters to her in a way. And you see that in the trailer. They're asking her, what is it like? And she replies, what, to have a man? So that plays into that, the closeness between them and them speaking whispered discussions between themselves. We see Queen Elizabeth and Mary Stuart, played by Saoirse Ronan and Margot Robbie, talking briefly in the trailer, and I'm glad that it is only brief, because as they do say in that article you mentioned, Stephen, it's one scene they have in the whole film, and if you give that away, you're giving away the best moment in the film, I would imagine. It's all building between this rivalry and those two finally meeting, In real life, I don't know how the hell it goes in this. I would imagine it would be an accurate portrayal. Queen Elizabeth gets told lies about treachery from Mary. She imprisons her. She's in prison for a number of years, and then eventually she's beheaded. It's quite a botched killing as well. They try to cut her head off, and I think the executioner had to swing 3 times to get her head off, so it was a brutal and a botched murder. That's a real story. This looks a great film. Saoirse Ronan's a fantastic actress. She looks good in this, but I was cringing at the accent. It was grating on me quite a bit. As a fellow Scot, she's Irish. She doesn't do a great job of the accent, I can't lie. It's grating on me every time I hear her speaking. Margot Robbie looks amazing as Queen Elizabeth the First. She's got the wig that they used to wear. You see her taking it off, and that frizzled, damaged hair underneath it. That's playing on the difference between the two. She's a more aristocrat type figure. She's came from a completely different upbringing, completely different views on the world, from the more naive and human figure of Mary. I'm saying it from a biased side here. I'm Scottish. I'm going to side with the Scottish Queen. So yeah, I mean, it looks great. We see the 2 different characters from their perspectives. You've got the male figures whispering in their ears and twisting things. We hear David Tennant at one point. He's playing John Knox, who's quite a controversial figure up here in Scotland. A lot of people don't like him. A lot of people, I presume, do like him. I'm one of the guys that doesn't like him. I don't even like his statue next to the Glasgow Cathedral. Not a likeable chap at all. But I love David Tennant, so I'll give him a chance. Martin Compston's in there as well, a man I do like. He's a great actor. He obviously played Paul Ferris. That was a phenomenal performance, so we know he's got it in his locker, as you did say, Stephen, or did you? Guy Pearce is in there. A lot of great actors and actresses. It's an intriguing story. It's one I don't believe I've ever seen. I think there was a film in the 70s, and when I'd done my short research that was out, apparently get good ratings. It was not too bad. So it's a story that's going to be modernised and retold to a new generation. I know briefly of it because I have done I loved history. I'd done history at school, so I do know about the character. So yeah, can't wait to see it. Yeah,
if you've seen the Kate Blanchett films, John, Elizabeth, and I think one came out about 10 years later, The Golden Age, I think it was, came out as well. You know that sort of side of her story. It's interesting and quite exciting, especially for us Scots to see Mary Queen of Scots side of these events as well. As you said, Saoirse Ronan, a phenomenal actress. I do agree her Scottish accent could be practiced a little bit more, I think. But I think for a worldwide audience, I don't think they're going to really notice that. It's nitpicking from ourselves because we can pick out certain different tones and accents within our own country, which other people can't. Guy Pearce is in there as well. He had a little brief outburst there in that trailer as well that we watched, John. He's another fantastic actress. I remember him all the way back from his days as Mike Young in Neighbours. Jack Lowden is playing Lord Darnley. It's very interesting to me because the Mary Queen of Scots story is something that, from my neck of the woods, I lived near Darnley, and there's an actual tree there that stands to this day that apparently Mary Queen of Scots and Lord Darnley sat under. This thing's all fenced off now. It's a very old, as you can imagine, oak tree, and it's one of the few attractions to the area, I feel like, and I'm looking forward to this movie, John. It's another one very much like our opening topic, which is a biography, drama, history type movie, right down my street. It's going to be interesting to see how much they romanticise the story, and whether or not it will be true to the true events, or we're going to have a bit of a Braveheart treatment in this, which was, as my grandfather once said, it's been Disneyfied. Hopefully not. It doesn't look like it from the trailer anyway. It looks very gritty, it looks very dark and sombre. But Saoirse Ronan portraying this character, this historical character, I think they've cast well. Same with Margot Robbie as well, playing Queen Elizabeth the First. She's just such a talented actress. Apart from that, John, I don't know too many more of the cast, I'm afraid, but I think the focus is going to be on these main players anyway.
Yeah, and also historically, Stephen, as you did say, we're going to get the Disneyfied version. Historically, it was a lot of religious stuff going on there. It was a lot of religious undertones. Elizabeth I was really head of the Protestant movement, which was really coming to prominence in England at that point. Mary was more of a Catholic leader. So you had that clash as well. The noblemen underneath them spinning a web of lies and causing a lot of crap. As we got throughout history in the United Kingdom, as you see in the trailer, there's a lot of sexist stuff going on as well. Remarks that were also rampant back then. Men really not happy that they were having to do the bidding of women. And we do hear, I do believe it's Guy Pearce's character making a comment about that. But the final thing I'll add is just about the talk of them actually crying on set when they finally do share the screen together. That is very promising to me. They're going method, they're getting right into the characters. We know what Margot Robbie's capable of, we know what Saoirse Ronan's capable of. They're 2 Academy Award nominated actresses, and I find it very intriguing that Josie Rook, the director, does say in this article that she thought the whole conception of the film was for her around that meeting, and that they really wanted a version of that famous scene with these 2 women looking at each other and being confronted with their choices, their personal choices, their political choices, in that moment that it was deeply personal. So that is fantastic. That plays back to what I said about the trailer, not getting too much of that, because I think that's what the whole film is going to build to. It's going to be a slow burn film showing these 2 different characters coming from 2 totally different lifestyles. Elizabeth I was brought up, I believe, in England and surrounded by aristocracy, and Mary was kind of a took out of the continent, and she had a different way of life, and they clash. They've got different religious beliefs and all the rest of it. It's going to be a crescendo of that scene, so I cannot wait to see the film. It's an interesting part of history, full of backstabbing and lies and deceit and all sorts of crazy crap. The UK was just a melting pot of craziness back then. They were decapitating people left, right and centre. And it's brilliant to see they're going method and they were blubbering like idiots, as Saoirse Ronan says. That's nothing but a positive for me, and I can't wait to see their performances. I'm sure either one of them will pop up in the award season for some nomination.
Yeah, and Mary Queen of Scots hits our theatres here in the UK on the 7th of December. Certainly looking forward to it as well, John. And that just wraps up this week's episode of Movie Burner News. We will be back tomorrow with the Movie Burner blog rundown, and we'd like to thank you once again for joining us, and we will see you again.
Remember guys, if you enjoyed that latest episode, then do hit that like button, comment below, and maybe even subscribe to the channel if you haven't done already. If you want to follow us on social media for all the latest updates from Movie Burner Entertainment, then we can be found on Facebook and Twitter at Movie Burners. You can also listen to us on Google Play and iTunes if that's more your thing, at the Movie Burner Podcast. And last but not least, if you want to access and read all the latest written reviews and the occasional article we put out, then that can be found on our website at movieburnerinentertainment.org. Until the next time, goodbye.